Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jajvad Varavahan Zafar Brajacharyas Tadasasisvad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman Ki Shri Ram Nomi Mahotsava Ki Gopremanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Shri Gaunitai Ki. Well, devotees, I'm really happy to be here with you all. I first came to P.E. 1983. We drove through from Cape Town. We stayed in Uitenhage. I think we stayed in Maheshwar. Must have been, yeah, probably Maheshwar, because Purushottam's house was too small. But yeah, we stayed there. Just overnight we stayed. And then we came back a little later, still in 83, to have a festival there for Bhagavan Das, also in Maheshwar's, his car showroom, actually, yes. And it was nice. It was very nice. So since then, of course, come so many times. And, well, unfortunately, COVID messed things up a bit. And last year I could have come, but unfortunately, I should have come, but I couldn't come due to circumstances. But here we are, better late than never. And just let us chant and associate and hear and chant about Krishna and Lord Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama.
Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman Ki.
Jai.
Right. So what we'll do, we will read through this. Well, there's 2 chapters actually in Bhagavatam focusing on Lord Ram. 9th canto, chapter 10 and chapter 11. The majority of the story is actually in chapter 10. And the thing is that Srimad Bhagavatam is accepted by all the devotees, the great devotees, and in our line, and in all the Vaishnav lines, Srimad Bhagavatam is accepted as being authentic 100%. Whereas so many other literatures, actually, part of them got lost, or somehow things got a bit mixed up. Even like Valmiki Ramayana, there's a number of versions. There are versions which talk about Lord Ram apparently or supposedly praying when he wanted to cross over to Lanka, they say he prayed to Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva blessed him to cross over and be successful. But there are other versions of Valmiki Ramayana which don't mention that at all. So, you could say to some degree there's a lack of clarity. Of course, there are things which are confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam which are there in Valmiki Ramayana also. So, that's okay. That's good. So it's safer in a sense, particularly where there's some doubt. There are different versions from amongst the different versions of Valmiki Ramayana, particularly where there's some sort of lack of clarity there of what may have happened or not happened. Best to stick with Srimad Bhagavatam because it's confirmed, fully confirmed, as being 100% authoritative. So even though the description is short, relatively speaking, 2 chapters, and I'm not sure, maybe 100 verses or something, and Valmiki Ramayana is in the vicinity of 25,000 verses. Bhagavatam, if you've got a Bhagavatam at home, Bhagavatam is around 15,000 verses. So the Valmiki Ramayana is, like what, 1/3 or 40% or something longer. It's a big book. It's a really big book. Of course, Mahabharata is 110,000 verses. It's the biggest book. It's the biggest book that there is, and the longest poem on this planet. So what we'll do, we'll go step by step through this chapter 10 of the 9th canto, which is titled The Pastimes of the Supreme Lord Ramachandra. We'll go step by step through it over these 3 days, and we'll bring out different points here and there. I'm sure it'll be interesting. I imagine a number of you are fairly familiar, or maybe very familiar, with Ramayana. Are you very familiar?
Yeah.
You know it off by heart?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. Maybe you should come and sit here. Yeah, so we'll do like that. And, if some of it you're already familiar with, and you may think, oh, it's the same thing again. Don't worry about that. Just hear it because it's transcendental. And, even if there's some repetition there to some degree, Prabhupada would say repetition of a good thing is good. So like this, let's just try to absorb the transcendental message, the transcendental descriptions, and if we listen very carefully, then we'll find we sort of enter into what's being described. It's an experience, it can be an experience like that. You sort of, suddenly you're there, in it, with Sita, Ram, Lakshman, and Hanuman. So, okay, let's begin then. 9th Canto, Chapter 10, the Pastimes of the Supreme Lord Ramachandra. Let's begin with verse 2. I'll read the Sanskrit of the verse to start off with. Tasyapi Bhagavan Esha Sakshad Brahmamayo Hari Amsham Shena Chaturdagat Putra Tvam Prartita Surai Rama Lakshmana Bharata Shatrugna iti samgaya, being prayed for by the demigods, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth Himself, directly appeared with His expansion and expansions of the expansion. Their holy names were Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrugna. These celebrated incarnations thus appeared in 4 forms as the sons of Maharaj Dasarath. And just to get a bit of a perspective on it, well, let me just mention one thing first. Being prayed for by the demigods, because there was, you could say, like a crisis, and not just sort of like a regular crisis. I mean, like in the world at the moment, how many crises are there? In South Africa, when is the next load shedding? Let's not talk about it. I went to India, and I actually went to Malaysia and Singapore and then India. I was in India for about 3 weeks or so. Then back to Malaysia for a couple of days to get the return ticket back, the return flight. Then Mauritius for a few days. And yeah, there, well, you know what? Are you ready? There was no load shedding. I'm serious. In India, there was no load shedding. Here, at least, they tell you about it. But it used to be bad in India. Those who have been like regularly going back, first time I went was 1976. Sure. Sometimes the power would just go off for days. Usually it wasn't that bad, but sometimes. And I sort of missed South Africa. Where's the load shedding? Anyway, that's just a joke. Don't worry. We got enough demons, but they were not like Ravana. Our current day demons, they're small time. Or what to speak of the Lord just flicking them away. Even Ravana could flick them away. Yeah, he was a big demon. Actually, he was Jai from the pair Jai and Vijay from the Bhagavatam. Earlier in the Bhagavatam, what is it, 3rd canto, I think. Anyway, around their 3rd, 4th cantos, Jai and Vijay were gatekeepers, like they were security men. That's actually what they were for Vaikuntha. And it's a very interesting situation. They were not quite in Vaikuntha. They were just outside because they were guarding. So they had to be just outside to stop people from coming in. Otherwise, if they were inside, people could already come in before they'd stop them. So they were just outside, but they were outside. So their position was not exactly like your typical resident of the spiritual world. And it's a bit of a long story, but the 4 Kumars came. They're 4 sages, saintly people, but they have the mystic perfection that they can stop their bodies aging.